Hi, Angela here. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch another video. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you, but I'm back. Gonna start off with a book video. To be honest, I haven't picked up the camera in a very, very long time, but I've planned out my book video and I'm gonna do it. Look, I did my notes. I have it all here. I'm not a natural booktuber, so trying to, stay focused and stay organized here. Have a lot of things to cover because I didn't make a book video for August, so I'm gonna go over the books that I read in August and in September. If you're new here, my name is Angela. I lost 200 pounds, fell in love with running, and now I'm trying to live the healthiest life I possibly can while being a mom. And so that means that being healthy for me is reading books, and I'm into it now. So I've lost all interest in television and I've been hitting the books. I'm sorry I don't have any like aesthetic books to show you and hold because I read on my Kindle. I know that's controversial, but I checked out a couple of library books this month or last month, and just carrying around the books is a task for me because if you don't know me, I carry around the most stuff, so carrying around another book is really, really hard for me. And when the book is thick, I'm going to go with the Kindle. So let's get started with the video. I just wanted to let you know that I have started a Bookstagram and I am going to start a book blog. It's hard to get things started. So like you have to dive in and then catch up. So that's what I'm doing. I'll put it right here and, go follow along, and I'm excited to talk about some books because, it's becoming something that I really love and I like just talking about books. Also, let me talk about my August reading. I read 4 books. I'm not one of those people that's going to read a ton of books. There are some people that will come at you at the end of the month and they'll be like, oh, look, I read 20 something books. Nope, I'm not going to read 20 books in a month. I like to read at least 1 book a week. Sometimes I can squeeze in 2 or 1.5. And so that's what I'm going with. So in August, I read 4 books, and in September, I read 5 books, and I DNF'd 1 book. Just couldn't. Life is too short to read books that you don't want to read, okay? So don't do it. That's about it. Oh, I also started using Bookly, which has been like very phenomenal for me. So if you use Bookly, let me know. Goodreads, I don't know, feels like it's kind of clogged all the time. So it's just nice to focus on your books, and it's a nice way to keep track of your books. So let's get on with the video. Let's talk about the books that I read in August. So I read Dial A For Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto, and then I read The Swallows by Lisa Lutz. I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, and We Lie Here, a thriller by Rachel Hoswell Hall. Those are the books that I read. I'm sorry, I don't have any pretty aesthetic things to show up here. I'll put the covers up here and we're gonna roll with it. The first book I read was Dial A For Aunties. I'm gonna read you the synopsis just in case you don't know. When Madeline Chain accidentally kills her blind date, her meddlesome mother calls for her even more meddlesome aunties to help her get rid of the body. Unfortunately, a dead body proves to be more challenging to dispose of than one might anticipate, especially when it is inadvertently shipped in a cake cooler to the over-the-top billionaire wedding. Maddie, her mom, and her aunties are working at an island resort in California. It's the biggest job yet for the family wedding business. Don't leave your big day to chance. Leave it to the chance. And nothing, not even an unsavory corpse, will get in the way of the auntie's perfect buttercream flowers. My initial thoughts on this book was it's a cozy mystery. It's not supposed to be like a serious thriller or mystery, okay? It's like the Hallmark type movie type mystery, I guess, in a way. But I don't know, I'm gonna give this book 2.5 stars. I started reading it and I wanted to stop, but I just kept on pushing through because I started late in the month of reading books, and I was like, this book was on my list for a really long time. But you really have to suspend your disbelief here to even make it through the story. It was hard for me. And I was like, every time that something happened or a twist or whatever, I was like, there's no way that they could have got away with that, or no way any of this could ever happen. So for me, it was just like a little bit too far past, my belief system here. Like, I'd like to escape in a book, but this just, I don't know. I still found myself saying, oh no, there's no way that this would happen. And maybe that is because I watch too many crime shows and I read too many crime books and things like that. So, if you're into the cozy mystery, this is the book for you. If you want to read a book that, you know, about a meddling family and finding love and all of that wrapped up in an unbelievable mystery, this book is for you, okay? The second book I read was The Swallows by Lisa Lutz. I am a huge Lisa Lutz fan from like way back in the day. I was actually in San Francisco and found one of her books in the airport, The Spellman Files, and you know, she writes about the Bay Area in those books and everything. So like that was a big deal. And I got to meet Lisa Lutz and she signed all of my Spellman books. It was like a huge deal. So she has moved on from her Spellman series and she's writing other books, and I hadn't read any of them. Willie had read some and he told me that they were okay. So I got one of the books on a Kindle deal. So hey, it was cheap, so I started reading it. And this book kind of, I guess I'll read the synopsis here. When Alexandra Witt joins the faculty at Stonebridge Academy, she's hoping to put a painful past behind her. Then one of her creative writing assignments generates some disturbing responses from students. Before long, Alex is immersed in an investigation of the students atop the school's social hierarchy and their connection to something called the dark room. She soon inspires the girls who started questioning the school's boys will be boys attitude and incites resistance. But just as the movement is gaining momentum, Alex attracts the attention of an unknown enemy who knows a little too much about her and what brought her to Stonebridge in the first place. So that's the synopsis. I kind of don't like that synopsis, so don't base your wanting to read this book off of that. I gave this book 3 stars, and it would have been like an all-in book. I enjoyed the first half of the book a whole lot more than the ending of the book. I don't know, I think maybe we found out too much information too fast. It had like a Gossip Girl vibe to it, but like an elevated level of Gossip Girl with these kids and the teachers being involved and all that. But too much information too soon maybe, or we figured out too much information too soon, and then when the twist came, I don't know. Maybe the book was just a little bit too long, and I hate to say that, but it was a very good book, and I understand a good slow burn, but this was like a deposit of information. Like, we got to the plot very quickly. We even got to know, like, there are a lot of characters in the book, and we got to know a lot about the characters very quickly through the writing assignment. But I don't know, it just kind of flopped at the end, and you know, it was good. It was a nice like mystery to unravel. I mean, I found myself questioning what had happened to Alex the entire time, and then I don't know, the twist was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And then there was the other twist that happens, you know, in these books, and it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then I don't know, everything kind of just blew up. And I mean, it was a good book. If you're, you know, it was an interesting read, and it was a fast read. So if that is something that you are interested in, a little thrillerish, Gossip Girl elevated, then hey, this could be the book for you. The third book I read was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, which everyone has read. Do I really need to read the synopsis on that? Basically, it is about Persephone and her family that go to the lake every year. They leave like their life in the city behind, and then she goes to Barry's Bay and meets Sam, the man that she thought that she could never live without. Told over 6 years in one weekend, Every Summer After is a big, sweeping, nostalgic story of love and people and the choices that mark us forever. Okay. Romance book. It's been all over the place. I thought that I would end out my August by reading this book, and I actually love this book. The thing I love about romance books is that they make you feel like loved and great, and they give you those fluttery feelings inside, and then, you know, you end up loving them. What I am a little bit over is the telling of going back in time and then coming back and telling the story, like the flip-flopping. Like when I read Before We Were Strangers or whatever, I thought that was a completely unique idea. And then I realized that a lot of the romance novels or books go back and forth like that, and it's kind of frustrating. I mean, it was a unique way to tell a story, but it's not so much now. I know it's supposed to build it up for us and all of that, but I don't know. That's why I kind of have to leave those kind of books behind, because after a while they all start to feel the same, right? But I did give this book 5 stars. I did like Persephone, they call her Percy, and I did like Sam. I thought the story was very good and it was believable. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't like over the top or whatever. Like, I really felt these characters and their story and how everything evolved over the time. and the twist was, I mean, believable, and yes, would be something that would drive people apart or bring them together. So like, I did enjoy that aspect of it. So I did give it 5 stars. Good romance book. And the last book I read was We Lie Here, a thriller by Rachel Hoswell Hall. Okay, now, previously I read one of her books. I forget what month it was. Maybe it was July. Yeah, because I think I had COVID during that time. But during that time, I read one of the books and I totally hated it. I was like, no way am I ever going to read one of her books again. Now, I don't know how I ended up reading one of her books. It was on Kindle Unlimited, and I saw it, and I read the synopsis, and the synopsis is a little bit long. TV writer Yara Gibson's hometown of Palmdale, California isn't her first choice for vacation, but she's back to host her parents' 20th anniversary party and find the perfect family mementos for her celebration. Everything is going to plan until Yara receives a disturbing text. I have information that will change your life. This message is from Felicia Cable, who claims to be a childhood friend of Yara's mother, but they've been estranged for years. Drama best ignored and forgotten, but Yara can't forget Felicia, who keeps texting, insisting that Yara talk to her before it's too late. So, it keeps going, but I'll leave it right there. I gave this book 4.3 stars. 4.3 stars, and I thought that I was going to hate it. This was a great story about Yara and like the expectations we have to please our parents. That was very like relatable for me. It is about a Black family, so obviously those things are going to resonate with me a little bit. And just, you know, like trying to please our parents and trying to do the right things, and, you know, feeling like that we can never ever do what's right to make our parents happy. And then we see, like, you think your parents are happy together, but then there's always something hiding, lurking behind that maybe they're not happy, and you have to kind of, you know, change the way that you look at relationships and all that. And then there's the whole like other layer. Obviously it's called a thriller, so like there's a whole other aspect of finding out this information and how it really directly affects Yara and her family. And it's crazy. Like, I couldn't get a handle on this book. I couldn't figure out what was gonna happen. And I mean, it was a little bit long, but like the characters were over analyzed a bit. But you know, I'm always gonna find something wrong with the book, you know, because, you know, backseat driver right here. But I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed finding out what was happening, and then in the end I was like, whoa, that was pretty awesome. So I've really enjoyed this book, and I'm glad that I really took the chance to read it, because I was done with this author, completely done. But then Kindle Unlimited saved me. Thank you for giving me this chance. So, We Lie Here, a thriller. Let's move on to the books that I read in September. Are we excited about this? Are we excited? So, the books I read in September are The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman, Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, and A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which everybody like, oh look, I read 5 books, and The Mysterious Benedict Society. So, let's get rolling here on the September books. I had the best September reading that I've ever had. So I hadn't really been enjoying my books lately, but I enjoyed the books that I read in September. So let's start with The Man Who Died Twice. It's the following Thursday. Elizabeth has received a letter from an old colleague, a man with whom she has history. He's made a big mistake and he needs her help. His story involves stolen diamonds, a violent monster, and a very real threat to his life. As bodies start piling up, Elizabeth enlists Joyce, Ibrahim, and Ron in the hunt for ruthless murder. And if they find the diamonds too, well, that would be a bonus. By this time, they're up against an enemy who couldn't bat an eyelash at knocking off 4. That's a word I don't expect. Vegetarians. Can the Thursday Murder Club find the killer and the diamonds before the killer finds them? Okay, so this is the second book in the Thursday Night Murder Club, and I liked the first book, but I really loved this book. So I gave it 5 stars. I guess in the first book we had to like get to know the characters or whatever, and in this book we were just down to business. You know, like we already knew who they were and what was happening. It did start off with an attack and on one of the members of the group. So that was, I don't mean to spoil you, but you know, that wasn't like the big thing in the story. And that kind of made me mad. Kind of made me sad and mad, and like how the group went around him to protect him. It was just really nice and sweet, and it was great. But then in turn, they were dealing with that issue as a group, and then they had the bigger mystery of Elizabeth's friend who needed their help, and the diamonds and all that. And I just really, I love how the story is told. I love how Joyce's chapters tell us, like, fill in the blanks between each chapter. Like, her chapters are her journal entries, so like you feel like that she's talking about nothing, you know, but then she drops these little tidbits in her journal entries that help move the story forward, and I really enjoy that part of the story. Like, Joyce is definitely the storyteller of the group. The next book that I read was Bad Blood by John Carreyrou. It's got a longer title than that, you know, it's something about Silicon Valley and all this. So I had to check this book out from the library because I didn't want to buy it, because I didn't think that I would read it again or anybody else in my family would read it again, because I am obsessed with the Theranos stuff. I watched Dropout, but like I fell down the rabbit hole of trying to find out like the real story of Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny and all of this. Like, if you don't know anything about Elizabeth Holmes or Theranos, she basically said that she had the technology to do lots of tests on one prick of the finger, and it was supposed to revolutionize like healthcare and how, you know, we can get our diagnosis and everything. So basically she was just yanking the chain of all these people for so long. And so like I was very, very interested in the story, and obviously I watched the show, but you know, it's fictionalized. So I wanted to find out like the real truth behind it all, because John Carreyrou was the one who actually broke the story that actually ruined Elizabeth Holmes' life. And I was also intrigued because Elizabeth Holmes went to trial, and she is supposed to be sentenced. Why do they go to trial and then like a year later they get to be sentenced? So like, if you're convicted of something that is criminal, then you should go to jail right away. But anyway, she is supposed to be sentenced actually this month, I think next week. And she requested a new trial last month because no good reason. And she knows that she committed this fraud and all of these things, but she requested a new trial. So I just wanted to like immerse myself in this and really find out the truth. And it was just, if you're not into like Theranos or like these type of stories, then you're not going to give two craps about this book. But I gave it 5 stars because it was excellent. It gave me everything that I needed, and I feel satisfied. So, nonfiction for the win. Peace. All right. The next book I read was a Riley Sager book. This was my very, very first Riley Sager book. The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I gave it 3.5 stars. 15 years ago, at summer camp, Emma Davis watched sleepily as her 3 cabin mates snuck out of the cabin in the dead of night. The last she and anyone saw them was Vivian closing the cabin door before her, hushing Emma with a finger pressed to her lips. Now a rising star in the NYC art scene, Emma turns her past into paintings. They catch the attention of Francesca Harris White, the socialite and wealthy owner of the very same camp, Nightingale, and where Francesca implores Emma to return to the camp as a painting counselor. So Emma sees an opportunity to find closure and moves on. Yet it is immediately clear that all is not right at Camp Nightingale. Already haunted by the surfacing memories, Emma is suddenly plagued by a security camera pointed directly at her cabin, mounting mistrust from Francesca, and the most disturbing of all, cryptic clues Vivian apparently left behind at the camp's twisted origins. As the history begins to repeat itself and the 3 girls go missing again, Emma must face threats from both man and nature in order to uncover all the buried secrets, including what happened all those years ago. So that was a little bit long, but yeah, so obviously this is a thriller book. This was my first Riley Sager book ever. I hear great things about Riley Sager. It was kind of in the middle for me. It was like a slow burn of information. Some of the characters and situations didn't make sense to me. The twist at the end was really, really good. Especially like the final pages of the book. It was great. It was worth the read because it ended well. The build up, the slow burn, I don't know, it was a little bit too slow for me, but I kept reading. I was very, very interested. I mean, it was one of those situations that it was moving slow, but I couldn't stop turning the pages to read it. So I guess it was keeping my interest, but it was, you know, it was a good book. 3.5 stars, very thrilling, I guess. Some of the characters weren't developed very well, so like they weren't like the most outstanding characters. So you weren't going to connect to these characters. You weren't going to be rooting or hinting against these characters. I just didn't feel like that there was enough character development here, but there was good plot development. All right, the next book I read was A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Is that how you say it? Yes, everyone is reading these books, okay? It's, you know, it's all over the place. I gave the book 4 stars. I'm not going to go through here and give the synopsis of the book. These books are long, they are thick, and I can't carry these books around. So keep that in mind. It is the first book in a 5-book series, I do believe. And in the beginning, I kept getting like very confused about the characters. Maybe it's because it's a new series. They have to introduce the characters. There's world building. There's all of these things that, you know, you kind of have to figure out. So like it did take me a minute to get a handle on the characters. But when I got the characters straight and learned everything, like I genuinely enjoyed the characters. I loved their personality. I loved the way that they played off of each other. And so that made it very interesting. Even like the dark characters were, I mean, they weren't like overly developed, but like you felt like that you knew them. This book had like everything. It has magic, it has love, it has, you know, relationships, it has friendships, it has all of these things. And I just feel like so many things happened in this book. And like you just kept turning the pages, and then the next thing you're like, what else is going to happen in the series if so much stuff happened in the first book? So I am very, very excited to read the next book in the series, and I'm excited to see what the series is all along. It's hard for me to rate just like one book out of the series, because in the end I'm going to end up, you know, this is only one part of the story, so it's hard to do like one part of the story. You need to figure out what the whole story is going to be. But I enjoyed this one part. I enjoyed getting to know Farah and Tamlin, and what was his friend's name? Oh, forgot what his friend's name was. But yes, I enjoyed getting to know him and everything that has gone on, like how Tamlin has to save the land and how he was supposed to do that, and the twist. I don't want to give out anything, so it's really hard to do these videos without giving out spoilers. But this book has everything: action, love, whatever. It's here. You're gonna enjoy it, and just take the time and to like really understand the worlds so that you can better understand the story, of course. And the last book that I read this month was The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Stewart. So these are, this is a middle grade book. So you might be asking why I'm reading it, because I saw the series on, is it Disney? Is it Disney or Apple TV? Wherever. I watched it and I loved it. Like, I thought it was something that I could sit down and watch with my kid, and she loved it too. It's still probably a little bit above her, but like I feel like that she's gonna grow into it. And I really, really enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed Constance Contraire, which is like my favorite character in a book. I'm going to read you the synopsis. Are you a gifted child looking for special opportunities? When this peculiar ad appears in the newspaper, dozens of children enroll to take a series of mysterious, mind-bending tests. And you, dear reader, can test your wits right alongside them. But in the end, just 4 very special children will succeed. They're challenged to go on a secret mission that only the most intelligent and resourceful children can complete. To accomplish it, they will have to go undercover at a learning institute for the very enlightened, where the only rule is that there are no rules. As our heroes face physical and mental trials beyond their wildest imaginations, they have no choice but to turn to each other for support. But with their newfound friendship at stake, will they be able to pass the most important test of all? Okay, so I was hooked. These books are thick though, and I can't believe that kids read these books. But I just really love the story, getting to know Mr. Benedict and Rennie and Sticky and Kate and Constance Contraire. It was just great. The character development was great. The plot development was great. And it's so well written for a kid's book that you kind of, yes, you were reading about kids and things like that, but like it's kind of hard to remember that you were reading a kid's middle grade book here, and I just loved it. So there are 4 books in the series. I am currently reading the 2nd book. I'm almost done with it. So that will be for the October wrap up. But I really am enjoying this book. I gave it a 5 stars because it stands on its own, and I think that everyone should read The Mysterious Benedict Society. Like, it makes you feel young, but like at the same time, you're still trying to figure out these like very adult problems in this world that is created. You know, we're trying to figure out what the Enlightenment is, or not the Enlightenment, that's another book. We're trying to figure out what the emergency is and how it affects everyone. And it's just a really, really great book. So I do recommend everyone sit down and read that book if you are interested. Just forget that it's middle grade. I really, really love these books. So that is all the books that I read for August and September, and now I'm really tired of talking. But I want to go ahead and show you the books that I have on my TBR. I'm going to read 2 physical books this month. Finally, I am going to read In My Dreams, I'll Hold a Knife. I've heard mixed reviews, like some people love this book and some people just don't like it at all. So I'm gonna finally read this, and I am going to read The Agathas. So this is already on my list. I'm also, like I said, reading the second book in the Mysterious Benedict Society. And what other book was I gonna read? Oh, I wanna read The Inheritance Games. So we might do that. At this point, as I'm sitting here on October 7th, I've already read 3 books. Alright, so I ran out of memory card space. So here we are. I've lost my setup. But like I was saying, as of now, it's October 7th and I've already read 3.5 books. So I feel like I'm doing good. Like I said, I'm so into reading books right now and not interested in television. This is just where my life is. So that is all for this video. I've talked enough. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what books you're reading, because hey, I'm always looking for books for my next TBR, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.